Hello, everybody. Welcome to FedTrends. This week, I want to talk about proposal and solution effectiveness. Now, there's a lot of metrics that we track around proposals, but there's also a lot of creative aspects that go into it. And so I want to talk a little bit about the intersection of those two. Now, it's very common to hear win rate thrown around. How many did we win? Now, that's not always a great measurement, because if you bid one really small job and one gigantic job and you won the small one and lost the huge one, you're not having a good year, but your win rate's 50%. So increasingly, what I've been seeing is capture rate. That's the overall dollars. So if we bid a $500 million deal and a $50,000 deal and we win the big one, then our capture rate is through the roof and we're having a fantastic year. Now, that's a valuable metric. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't track that, but there's one that I don't see tracked is the compliance rate. Now, here's why I say the compliance rate is important. If you ever submit a proposal where the bid ends up being non-compliant, whether that be a font issue, too many pages, you missed an attachment, there cannot be bigger problems. There can be issues with the cost volume or non-compliant resumes. But whatever it was that got your proposal thrown out, there has to be a root cause analysis, and you have to understand what went wrong so you can put some kind of safeguard in place so that that never happens again. Now, you should be 100% compliant with your proposal. So if there's any month, quarter, or year where your compliance rate dips below 100%, you need to take some action. Now, the next metric is one that I haven't seen anybody else track, and it goes back to the idea that there need to be themes in a proposal. You need to have something that you're selling, something that is supposed to resonate with the customer. That's a result of your capture process. That's a result of your capture strategies. Now, if you go back to the Shipley process, theoretically, you would have storyboards, but not every organization has the time to do storyboards or the labor force to do them. So a lot of times what I see in proposals is a kind of a mix and not very clean win themes. Now, somebody I used to work with, so Eric Gregory, who's now part of the Shipley organization, would have been in a lot of rooms with him where he would read through a proposal and there'd be a feature benefit table. He would say, your feature is not really a feature. Your benefit is really a feature. And if that's your feature, you haven't identified any benefit to it, you probably should start over with this. That happens a lot. So at a bare minimum, you should start the proposal process with a win theme document of some kind. You should be able to boil down to maybe the top 5 things that you're trying to offer in a proposal, and that should follow throughout the document. Now, there are some things that you should, best practices around that. Now, first off, you should assign a reviewer in your proposal reviews to look for those win themes. They should be easy to see. You should be able to see the win themes in your proposal without ever having to read any of the body text. From call-out boxes and graphics, from bolded bullets, from feature benefit tables, those top win themes should be really, really evident. You also should use the same wording, whether it is innovation from AI, whether it is process efficiency, whatever your win theme might happen to be, pick the same words and hammer it throughout the proposal. Now, that comes down to the metric. In your debrief, you should look for what those win themes or those sales points were. So you want to track what were the 5 themes that I was trying to get across in this proposal. And then when you get to the debrief, or the combination of the debrief and talking to the customer, win or lose, when you're done, measure how many of these themes did we think were really important that were going to resonate, and how many of them did we hear back? Did we hear back from them either as a strength? Did we hear back from them as a weakness or a risk? Or do we not hear back from them at all? Because all of those will tell you some different things. First off, it will identify the efficiency of your messaging. If 3 of your 5 sales points came through, that says that you hit them pretty well. If they came back as strengths, that says that your capture process worked and you understood what the customer wanted. If they came back as weaknesses, that says you did a good job of hitting the message in the proposal, but you didn't understand what the customer was looking for, so you proposed something they didn't want, or you didn't do a good enough job of explaining the value of that feature to the customer. Now, the next aspect that metric helps is it helps you understand if what you think is important is actually resonating with your customer. I've been in the position a lot of times where we had really sold ourselves on the idea that a customer liked an idea, whether we'd been in front of them or not. Sometimes we've been in front of them lots of times, and we were positive that they really liked whatever this idea was. And then when you find out that it's not resonating in your debriefs, over time, you're going to see a trend. So if that is a technology stack, if that is a tool partnership, if that's something proprietary to the organization, see over multiple instances of proposal debriefs and feedback from the customer if that's being effective or not. That way that you can decide, am I describing it effectively, or do we have something where I've just fallen in love with it and I think it's a really good story, or a company thinks it's a really good story, but customers don't seem to care. I've been in organizations, whether it was we have an off-site call center, or we have an innovation lab, or we have a partnership with some software tool, and it didn't seem like customers really, they didn't buy into it. And sometimes it was messaging, but sometimes it was truly that we had convinced ourselves, or we had invested in something, and so we were going to put it in all of our proposals. If you track that, now you have an actual data-driven decision to make as to how effective you've been and how much the customers have cared. So compliance rate and what I call solution effectiveness rate are your measures that you can track to have some better data about, do your proposals have a chance to win? And then once you've reached compliance, are you really hitting what the customer's looking for? Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.